Patrick Ewing and David Robinson have something unfortunate in common. Both had Hall of Fame careers, and both are often remembered for one painful playoff moment. For Ewing, it is the missed finger roll against Indiana, the Game 7 loss to Houston, and years of running into Michael Jordan. For Robinson, it is Hakeem Olajuwon turning the 1995 Western Conference Finals into a basketball clinic Robinson never asked to attend. But one series is not a career. Ewing scored nearly 25,000 points, carried New York to 13 consecutive playoff appearances, and came within one victory of a championship. Robinson won an MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year award, 2 championships, and produced one of the greatest regular season peaks ever seen from a center. One became the face of New York basketball, the other transformed the San Antonio Spurs. So who had the greater career? 6 categories, 6 checks. The numbers tell part of the story, the context tells the rest. Patrick Ewing versus David Robinson. Let's settle it. Ewing and Robinson played during the deepest era of centers in NBA history. Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, Moses Malone, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Alonzo Mourning, Dikembe Mutombo. And because all NBA voting was based on position, being the third best center in basketball could mean missing first team while still being one of the best players alive. Imagine averaging 24 points, 11 rebounds, and 3 blocks, and then being told there was no room at the table. That competition matters when we compare their awards, their playoff results, and the way history remembers them. Ewing entered the NBA as one of the most anticipated prospects basketball had ever seen. He had already won a national championship at Georgetown and played in 3 NCAA title games. Then the Knicks selected him first in the NBA draft lottery. He was not expected to slowly develop. He was expected to rescue basketball in New York immediately. Robinson's path was different. He became a star at the Naval Academy, was selected first overall by San Antonio in 1987, and then waited 2 years to enter the league because of his military commitment. When he finally arrived, the Spurs improved from 21 victories to 56. That's a 35-win jump. Most rookies need time to adjust to the NBA. The NBA needed time to adjust to David Robinson. Let's get to the categories, starting with production. The scoring numbers are almost identical. Ewing averaged 21 points per game for his career. Robinson averaged 21.1. But Robinson averaged more rebounds, more assists, shot a higher percentage, and finished with more blocks despite playing nearly 200 fewer games. Ewing wins the cumulative argument. He played longer, scored more total points, and logged more minutes. But that's better suited for longevity. When players were actually on the floor, Robinson provided slightly more in nearly every area. He ran the court like a forward, attacked slower centers off the dribble, created steals, and protected the rim, and produced his points more efficiently. Ewing was a more traditional half-court scorer. He battled for position, attacked from the mid-post, and developed a dependable jumper that became more important as his knees began negotiating against him. Ewing produced more total basketball. Robinson produced more basketball per possession. Production goes to David Robinson. Now on to category 2. Who had the better peak? Ewing's best season came in 1989 and 90. He averaged 28.6 points, 10.9 rebounds, and 4 blocks while shooting better than 55%. He played all 82 games, made first-team All-NBA, and finished 5th in MVP voting. That is a genuine superstar season. It is also probably better than many young fans realize because they remember the older Ewing, the version wrapped in knee braces and operating entirely through veteran determination. Prime Ewing was explosive. He ran the floor, elevated quickly, and finished with real power. But Robinson's peak reached another level. During the middle of the 1990s, he won a scoring title, an MVP, and repeatedly finished near the top of the league in rebounding, blocks, steals, and advanced statistics. In 1993 and 94, he averaged nearly 30 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and almost 2 steals. For a center, that stat line looks less like basketball and more like someone forgot to turn down the difficulty settings. The playoff criticism is fair. Robinson's production declined more noticeably in the postseason, and the loss to Hakeem in '95 remains part of the evaluation. But one bad matchup against one of the greatest centers ever does not erase several seasons of overwhelmingly two-way dominance. Ewing had an elite peak. Robinson had an MVP peak. Peak goes to David Robinson. Robinson leads 2-0. Now let's look at individual accomplishments. Ewing made 11 All-Star teams, 7 All-NBA teams, 3 All-Defensive teams, 1 Rookie of the Year, and was selected to the NBA's 75th anniversary team. That's an outstanding resume. Robinson made 10 All-Star teams, 10 All-NBA teams, and 8 All-Defensive teams. He also won MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year, a scoring title, a rebounding title, a blocks title, and 2 NBA championships. Ewing's award total was hurt by the crowded center era, but Robinson played in that same traffic jam and collected more recognition anyway. This is the clearest category. Accolades also goes to David Robinson, and now he's up 3-0. Now we move on to team success, and this category is more complicated than just counting rings. Ewing was the unquestioned centerpiece of the Knicks. He led New York to 13 consecutive playoff appearances and took the 1994 team to Game 7 of the NBA Finals. He did it without playing beside another MVP-level superstar. John Starks, Charles Oakley, Anthony Mason, and Derek Harper were excellent players. They were also not Tim Duncan. Ewing repeatedly ran into Jordan's Bulls, the Bad Boy Pistons, Reggie Miller's Pacers, and Hakeem's Rockets. His playoff career contains disappointments, but it also contains years of carrying enormous offensive and defensive responsibility. Robinson's Spurs were better in the regular season and eventually won 2 NBA championships. But context matters. Tim Duncan was San Antonio's best player on both title teams. Robinson was still an elite defender and major contributor in 1999, but by 2003 he had become a valuable veteran role player. So Robinson does not receive this check simply because 2 is larger than 0. He receives it because his teams won more consistently, reached higher level regular season levels, and because he successfully changed roles when Duncan arrived. He could have resisted the transition. Instead, he accepted it and helped create one of the smoothest superstar handoffs in league history. Ewing carried more as the lone centerpiece. Robinson experienced more team success across the full career, and this check goes to David Robinson. And now Robinson is in the lead 4-0. Longevity. This is where Ewing finally gets on the board. He played 3 more seasons, nearly 200 more games, and thousands more minutes. He scored roughly 4,000 more career points and remained a primary offensive option longer. Robinson entered the NBA at 24 because of his Navy commitment and lost almost the entire 96-97 season to injury. Those circumstances explain why his career was shorter, but we cannot award production that never happened. Ewing survived 17 seasons at the most physical position in basketball during the most center-heavy era in league history. By the end, his knees sounded like someone opening a microwave popcorn. He kept showing up. Longevity goes to Patrick Ewing. Now on to Category 6, Legacy. Robinson has the stronger traditional basketball resume. He owns the MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year award, the championships, and the superior advanced metrics. But legacy is larger than a trophy case. Patrick Ewing became one of the defining figures in Georgetown history. He became the face of the Knicks for 15 seasons. His style helped define 1990s New York basketball: physical, defensive, relentless, and completely unable to treat a normal playoff series like a peaceful social gathering. Madison Square Garden, the number 33, and those Knicks teams remain connected to Ewing in a way that goes beyond statistics. And his basketball influence continued after retirement. Ewing spent more than a decade as an NBA assistant, working with prominent big men, helped Orlando reach the 2009 finals, and later returned to Georgetown as head coach. His tenure there was inconsistent, and we should not pretend otherwise. But winning the 2021 Big East tournament added one more chapter to a basketball life that stretched from college icon to NBA superstar to coach and mentor. Robinson remains deeply connected to San Antonio and has built an extraordinary legacy through leadership, education, and community work. But Ewing's basketball identity reaches across more places and more generations. Georgetown, the Dream Team, Madison Square Garden, NBA benches, and eventually back to Georgetown. Robinson has the stronger resume. Ewing has the broader basketball footprint. Legacy goes to Patrick Ewing. And our final score, David Robinson 4, Patrick Ewing 2. Final verdict. David Robinson wins production, peak, accolades, and team success. Patrick Ewing wins longevity and legacy. And 4 checks to 2 feels right. Ewing played longer, scored more total points, carried a greater offensive burden for much of his career, and became one of the most important figures in the history of both Georgetown and the New York Knicks. He was not simply a great center who never won a championship. He was the foundation of 13 consecutive playoff teams and one of the defining stars of basketball's greatest center era. But Robinson was more efficient, more versatile, and more dominant at his absolute best. He matched Ewing's scoring, provided more rebounding and playmaking, built a stronger defensive resume, and reached individual heights Ewing never quite reached. Tim Duncan changed the final chapter of Robinson's career, but he did not create Robinson's greatness. So the verdict is David Robinson. Not because he won 2 rings and Ewing won 0, because over the full comparison, Robinson creates the stronger combination of peak performance, two-way impact, accolades, and winning. Ewing made it competitive. Robinson wins it. Evidence over emotion, one category at a time. Would you rather build a franchise around Ewing's longer run as the young question centerpiece, or Robinson's higher peak and greater versatility? And which category would you change? Let us know below. Then subscribe because the next debate is already waiting.